All right, Elvis. All right, Elvis. All right, I'm gonna give it to you. That was pretty good. Okay. I just got back from seeing Elvis Presley in concert, the new Baz Luhrmann documentary concert thing. This is like the opposite of the time I shot a review right after finishing reading that Elvis book. That was like a nightmare. That was like a Greek tragedy that just left me like shell shocked and grieving and it just sullen. You know, this is like complete opposite of that. I am jazzed. I'm amped. I'm fired up. This was a triumph. You know, I had some reservations going into it and some things that I was interested in, but I wasn't like super highly anticipating it. I wasn't gonna go see it in theaters, I didn't think, but I ended up getting tickets on a whim, but I ended up having a great time. I saw it in IMAX, and so we all have those like reclining chairs where you can kick your feet out, right? And everyone in my row, our ankles are just sitting there and they're all dancing along to the songs going like doot 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 doot. And that was pretty funny. So seemed like everybody had a good time, myself included. So if you are interested in seeing this, I would recommend it. You will definitely get plenty of bang for your buck. I want to start by saying that although I have heard my fair share of Elvis music, I would not consider myself like a super fan. And I have not seen the Baz Luhrmann Elvis movie. This is still in the 4K plastic wrap. I haven't opened it yet. My familiarity with Elvis is well documented here on this channel, but for those who may not know or care, I've heard all of his 50s music and some of his early 60s music, and I've seen 6 or 8 movies or so. I really like King Creole, Jailhouse Rock, the Golden Records albums are great. Elvis is Back is great. His gospel record's good. Wild in the Country is great. Flaming Star, really good as well. I don't love everything. There's some stuff that I like and there's some stuff that I don't like. I wouldn't say that I'm the biggest, craziest Elvis fan in the world, but I do find his story really interesting. His initial rise to fame and his like dominance of pop culture, and then like getting drafted and the movies and kind of pioneering the archetype of superstar that we know of today, and then his like enduring legacy. I find all that stuff really interesting, but again, not like a super Elvis fan. But I am a fan of music and a fan of filmmaking, and so I was interested in this for a couple of reasons as far as that's concerned. Mostly the way that the organic creative spark that I understand Baz Luhrmann to have had, the way that that intersects with like the theatrical model and how that's changing right now and how concert movies are a big thing at the moment. I just find that to be kind of interesting, you know. And I don't know much about it because, like I said, I haven't seen the Austin Butler movie that I can't point my finger towards. I haven't seen that movie, but my understanding is that when he was going to make that movie, he asked Warner Brothers, I assume, right? I don't know, it doesn't matter. He asked Warner Brothers or whomever for like all the archival footage that they might have in the salt mines, wherever they're storing it and stuff. And I think he just got such a trove of stuff that had like barely ever been seen or never before seen, you know? And I think my understanding is that that inspired him to say, oh man, maybe we could make like a whole supplemental thing if the Elvis movie works out. And of course, the Elvis movie made a bunch of money. And then meanwhile, you know, different demographic and audience and stuff, but like broadly, the theaters are clamoring for theatrical spectacle experiences that are going to get people to stop streaming and to like go out and go to the theater. And they recently had the Taylor Swift Eras Tour movie and the Beyonce Renaissance Tour movie, and both of those made crazy amounts of money, and both of those were like really, really well received with fans and critics alike. And so I think that there was probably at some point a conversation where Baz Luhrmann sat down with the executives and he said, look, why don't we find out? Why don't we put this out there, see if there's an audience for it in the same way that there is an audience that the young kids have for their young people? Like, why don't we see if like the Elvis movie made money? Let's do it. Let's try it. And they did it, and I think they did it really, really smartly, and in a way that I'm going to be talking about further.
Lord Almighty, I feel my temperature Hey, the light's on. I can see you. Hello out there. Hello.
And on that, the last thing I'll say is that I'm actually not a Baz Luhrmann fan. I would say like the opposite. I'm kind of low-key a Baz Luhrmann hater. Just being honest, because I've never seen Strictly Ballroom, but I saw Moulin Rouge and I saw Romeo plus Juliet when I was in like middle school, and I thought that they were just terrible. I was a tween, don't hate on it, but they were just obnoxious to me. And Romeo plus Juliet, man, whatever. I appreciate, especially nowadays, I appreciate that like an artist who has a vision, like, and that's what Baz Luhrmann has. Even if it is loud and crazy and excessive, he has a vision of how he wants to execute a story. I applaud that, even if it's not all the way for me. But yeah, Moulin Rouge, hated that as a child, have not revisited it. Romeo and Juliet, get that away from me. I don't even want to see that. I did see The Great Gatsby, his remake of that, but that was kind of, I mean, it was a little more palatable, but it sucked. I mean, did you even remember that movie existed before I just mentioned it? It has Spider-Man. They have Spider-Man as Nick. Ugh. But Baz has a unique and distinct style, and it's rooted in energy and movement and color and in-your-face intensity, and that's exactly what you want in a concert documentary film. Do I like it in his movies? No, I absolutely do not. But I think that it translates, those instincts translate perfectly here to something that is really exciting and ends up being a larger-than-life experience, And me explaining the way that Baz Luhrmann does this is going to maybe take us into spoiler territory. I don't know if that really matters in a concert movie that's just like a big spectacle, but I'm going to be naming some of the songs and outlining the structure here, which is more information than I had when I went into this. So again, if you have interest and you don't want anything, you want all that stuff fresh to you, maybe head out now, come back later, or don't, or whatever. I do recommend seeing this. So the main thing here is that it's not just a concert film. There's footage from every conceivable Elvis media out there. There's, him on Ed Sullivan, there's him behind the scenes in this, they're showing the movies, they're showing the interviews, they're showing half of the things that I've reviewed on this channel here before, like the phone call interview when he was first getting famous with Hy Gardner or whoever, all kinds of stuff, all kinds of different media that they're showing, and they're doing it purposefully and intentionally, right? And obviously that's not abnormal for documentaries to have a larger narrative, but I didn't know that it did that. And at like 90 minutes, which I also didn't know, you maybe wouldn't know or expect that going into it. You might think 90 minutes, well, that's just going to be concert footage, but it's not. It starts with a voiceover of Elvis. It's like, "Hello, my name is," and it's over black, and it's at first, "Hello, my name is Elvis Presley. There's a lot of things that have been said about me over the years, but I think it's about time you heard it from my side, Elvis." And it does the whole thing. And we get the whole history lesson, the whole quick and dirty thing. It covers his initial rise and how he was divisive and driving the girls wild, but the authority and people were saying that he's wiggling his hips and it's unholy and he's encouraging juvenile delinquency and all this stuff. And he's like, "No, I don't think I'm doing anything wrong. I'm just here dancing to the music," and blah, 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 Covers all that stuff. It covers him going into the army. It covers him coming back from the army and grappling with whether or not music is in a different place and stuff like that. Him in the movies and coming out of the movies. It covers all that stuff. For the seasoned Elvis veteran or super fan out there, even me as like a relatively casual, like there's not anything new or revelatory for the Elvis canon, but it's just all packaged in a nice, pretty succinct, short and sweet and energetic package, but it's all intercut where the songs are contextualized by the interviews and the voiceover that surrounds them. Like a kind of funny thing is when they start talking in depth about Tom Parker, right? They're playing the song "Devil in Disguise." So they show some footage of that while he's performing that on stage, and then it's cutting to the interview footage, and then it cuts to Charo. I haven't seen it, but it's him with the beard, so I assume that's Charo. And it's a shot of some guy behind Elvis putting a gun to his head while they're talking about Tom Parker. So like they're stitching all of these elements together in a way to elicit a certain feeling between the lines. You know what I mean? And I credit Baz Luhrmann with that, you know, with having that idea and executing it very well, you know, very effectively. And at a later point in the second act, which is, you know, in a movie narrative is your downbeat, is your low point for your character. It's where they break up in the rom-com. It's where you're off the case, you're too close to this one, you're going crazy, and the cop has to turn in their badge type thing, you know. And in a concert is the low point where it's you do some slower songs. The performer gets to catch their breath before you come back for the big finale and everything like that. So in this second act here, Elvis is talking about his sadness and his loneliness and being lonesome, and they play the song "Are You Lonesome Tonight?" Right, and then they play "Love." He plays "Love Me," and so it cuts to that footage on stage of him performing "Love Me," which is one of my favorite Elvis songs personally. And then they're showing footage of Priscilla and little baby Lisa Marie and stuff like that, you know. So it's all done very, very well. Another through line here, delivered through the voiceover and the interview clips and stuff like that, is Elvis's thoughts on stardom and like showmanship. And he talks about how when people come to see you perform, they expect a performance and they expect a show. They expect to be entertained more so than they would if they're home listening to your records, you know. And there's a lot of time that they dedicate, I'm very happy to report, to talking about, you know, Elvis's love for music and how his roots are gospel and rhythm and blues. And he says the first thing he remembers seeing is Grand Ole Opry and stuff like that. But even way more time is spent just kind of detailing all of the effort and hard work that goes into translating those songs into a stage performance that you see live, you know? There's this wonderful shot. It's probably my favorite shot in the whole movie, and it's stupid of me to say that. There's this great shot of a bunch of just black, thin metal sheets laid out on concrete with a bunch of holes in them, these big-ass holes in them. And I think there's even a guy, like, polishing the metal, but it's just on the ground, and you're like, what am I looking at? And then you see them craning it up, and it's the big, huge ELVIS letters that they put on the marquee at the International Hotel or whatever it's called, you know? And it's like, and I saw it and I was amazed because I was like, I never gave two shits. I never gave two thoughts to how those letters get up on that marquee. Never gave a thought to the having to stencil them and cut them and deliver them and lay them out and crane them up and make sure you polish them so there's not any schmutz on there, you know? And I was just like, that's so cool. It's probably my favorite shot in the whole movie. But besides that, because probably not many people care about the letter stenciling relative to the other stuff in this movie, some of the best stuff, some of the most interesting stuff to me is them, all the behind the scenes footage of tweaking the songs and the choreography when they're in rehearsal and when they're in the studio. And you hear him talking, you know, he's talking with the band and he's just like, yeah, what if we tried something a little different with the modulation here? And, you know, what if we what if we do two drum fills? Oh, you're supposed to do two bars of the drum fill here, and then the song cuts, and you kind of missed it there. And how are we gonna fade out this song when we do it live when we've got the acapella guys over here? And there's just like these little qualities to it that are really interesting and humanizing and quiet, you know, because like for all of the bombast and everything that, how many times have I said bombast, do you think? What are we up to now? Like 5? For all of that Baz Luhrmann is known for, I think some of the quiet, still, and intimate moments are what stand out the most in this, you know? Like, even with the voiceover and all of the, like, behind-the-scenes candid shots and then the interview questions and stuff, you never really get the sense that you're, like, piercing the Elvis facade, like the character. You don't really get the sense that you're, like, passing that and getting to the human being. But I think seeing him in the studio, like just working with his fellow musicians, is the closest you get. Or it's like the veneer is at its thinnest in those moments where he's just in his element, working out how to put on a good show for people. you know? It's cool. And it's all to Baz Luhrmann's credit, you know, for sifting through all of that stuff and for putting it together in an engaging way. And one of the best things that he does, I want to say it's the song, hold on. I have notes here. I took notes while I was in the theater, of course. Polk Salad Annie. He does a great job of like seamlessly intercutting from the rehearsal, or no, from the studio to the rehearsal to the concert, like the live concert, full thing, in like, you know, 1, 2, 3 bars and back, and jumps all around, and does such a great job of showing it from its like conception, and then like working it out, and then the final product. And it does it so seamlessly between its like mixing of the audio takes from each of those, or just staying with one. Like it does it really well. And when you couple that hard work and that like intentional thought process with someone like Elvis, who is just naturally charismatic and very sharp and very in tune with his audience, you know, and can play them like an instrument, as is said at one point in this, you end up with something that is really electrifying. And you know, you get like the dazzling lights and display of rock and roll and like the choreographed moves that he knows he's gonna hit. You get that mixed with like the improv of him putting a bra on his head and singing half a song with it on his head because some lady threw it up there and he couldn't predict that was gonna happen, you know? And it ends up making for a very organic and cool experience, you know? Like, there's a lot of clips of Elvis talking about how he wants to keep the performances new and fresh, and like his philosophy is to treat it like it's his first time performing it and the audience's first time hearing it. And certainly there are a bunch of moments in this, way more than in the interview footage, which is him mostly looking like uncomfortable or just like he's annoyed or wants to leave, and I don't blame him. There's so many moments of him on stage where he is just like radiant, and he's like got this beaming smile, and he just looks like a guy who's in his element doing what he loves to do, and is like basking in that, you know, that communal energy that everybody gets when you're in a concert and everybody's vibing together and there's a give and a pull of energy reciprocating between everybody, you know? And I feel like this is as close as you can reasonably get to that with him being gone and not able to do concerts anymore. You go see this movie in IMAX, and it's pretty much as close as you can get to that experience, you know? I can't imagine Elvis fans asking for much more from this particular project. I think that Baz Luhrmann knocked it out of the park. I think that the Elvis fans are probably going to be hounding him for more of this same caliber until he's dead. But that just goes to show that he did a fantastic job, you know? And like I said, I took notes here, so while I was writing them in my little notepad, when the house lights came up, you know, there was a smattering of applause, first of all, when it ended, but then, yeah, I was writing down a couple of thoughts and stuff, and I heard a lot of like, "Oh, Harold, what did you think of the movie?" "What?" I said, "What did you think of the movie?" "Oh, I thought it was really good. I gotta pee." And so, you know, I think most people are pretty happy with this thing, myself included. I don't think it's getting the same like level of marketing push that the Elvis movie did itself. You know, I texted my dad and I asked him if he was gonna see this, and he didn't even know it existed. So I don't know. I had a good time. I would welcome more stuff like this. I would welcome more concert movies and less Scream 7. That was the big thing that's taken over the box office this weekend. I don't give a crap about Scream 7. I'm sorry, Nev Campbell and Courtney Cox. I'm glad you got paid, but, you know. I guess this is like Elvis 35 though, so what am I saying? All right, let me look here. Yeah, not all of Baz Luhrmann's sensibilities work for me. You know, the gaudy inner titles. They did like the 2001 score at one point, but that's fine. That's fine. A lot of smooching. I got to see the smooching happening. Man, he smooches a lot of ladies in that crowd. Holy cow. Oh, and the ending poem by Bono, the like slam poetry thing. I gotta say, that felt a little culty. I just didn't like that. I didn't like that at all. Maybe I'm just not like high art enough to really get into slam poetry, though. That could be the case. Oh, he made a quip at Bob Dylan. He said like he went to drink water on stage. He's like, "Oh, my mouth is drier than if Bob Dylan stepped in it," and I thought that was funny. I giggled in the theater. He talked about his Sun records. He said, "Boy, those records sure sound funny, huh? A lot of echo on those." I thought that was good. Oh yeah, Sammy Davis Jr. He makes a little cameo. I think I saw Juliet Prowse from Blue Hawaii. Or from GI Blues, but not 100% sure if it was her. I just saw like the red hair. I guess it could have been Lucy. You know, I don't know. Also, there he gives a couple of times pretty like candid dismissal of his movies, which was interesting to hear because you guys have told me a couple of times that he's voiced his negative opinion on the films. I have not reached a point of actually hearing that, primary source from the guy himself. This was my first time hearing it. He at some point during the voiceover just dismisses them as kind of like being all the same, and he mentions like I could read the first 5 pages of the script and know it was just a rehash of what I've done before. But there's an interview that they show, and he's like, yeah, I hope to be making better movies in the future. And I think they drill him, they ask him to double down on like what that means by better. I don't remember what he answers there, but then she asks, do you have anything lined up? And he looks off camera and he says, I don't know, do we? And he's like talking to Tom Parker. So Tom Parker was in the room when he was dissing his own movies, which to me demonstrates or suggests that they already had a conversation about that. And, maybe Elvis was like a Southern gentleman about it. Was like, Tom, I think we gotta move a different way with these movies. But I like to imagine there was a big screaming match, and maybe Elvis was throwing stuff. Maybe he took his pants off. I don't know. I would have loved to have been a fly on the wall for those conversations. But if we're lucky, maybe there's some documentary footage out there currently being restored, and we'll get to see it. So until next time, that sucked. That was a terrible. That's whatever. Thanks, everyone.